Every year, it's the same old story. January rolls around, we feel pumped, full of energy, ready to conquer the world with our New Year's resolutions. This is the year we'll get fit, learn a new skill, finally start that side hustle. We write down our goals, maybe even tell a few friends. For a week, maybe two, we're crushing it. Then, slowly but surely, the motivation fades. We skip a workout. It snooze one too many times, and before we know it, we're back to square one, doing the exact same things we swore we'd change. Sound familiar? We've all been there. It's a frustrating cycle that makes us question if real lasting change is even possible. The big question isn't just about what we want to achieve. It's about how we actually become the person who achieves those things. How do we break those stubborn bad habits and consistently build good ones? For a long time, I struggled with this myself. I tried all the usual advice, setting big goals, trying to rely on willpower, even punishing myself when I messed up. Nothing truly stuck. Then I stumbled upon a book that completely flipped my understanding of change, James Clear's Atomic Habits. This book isn't just another self-help guide. It's a practical, actionable roadmap to understanding why we do what we do, and how to gently, yet powerfully, steer ourselves toward the lives we want. Today, I want to share some of the core ideas from Atomic Habits that have genuinely transformed my own life and the lives of so many others. We'll talk about what actually drives our habit cycles, how those little dopamine spikes influence us, the importance of setting up your environment for success, and much more. This isn't about grand, overnight transformations. It's about understanding the subtle forces that shape our daily actions and learning how to harness them. If you've ever felt stuck, or like your efforts to change just don't last, then this is for you. And trust me, after hearing these insights, you'll probably want to pick up a copy of the book yourself. It's that good. James Clear puts it perfectly. You are your habits. Your life today is essentially the sum of your past habits. If you want to predict where you'll be in 5 years, just look at your daily routines. Now, society often tells us to go big, to make massive, noticeable changes. We're drawn to the dramatic overhaul, the instant success story. But the truth is, real, lasting change comes from something far less glamorous. 1% improvements. Think about it. If you get just 1% better at something every single day for a year, you'll end up 38 times better than when you started. That's not a typo. 38 times. On the flip side, if you get just 1% worse each day, you'll slowly decline to almost nothing. This isn't just about big goals. It's about the quiet compounding of everyday actions. Habits can accumulate negatively, like stress, negative thoughts, or poor eating, or they can accumulate positively, building knowledge, productivity, skills, and stronger relationships. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. The truth about progress is also often misunderstood. We tend to expect progress to be linear. We put in effort, and we expect to see results directly proportional to that effort right away. But reality isn't like that. Progress, especially when forming new habits, often looks more like a flat line for a long time, followed by a sudden, dramatic upward curve. This initial flat period is what James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. You're putting in the work, you're making an effort, but you're seeing minimal, if any, visible results. This is precisely where most people quit. They get discouraged by the lack of immediate gratification, revert to their old ways, and then conclude that change isn't possible for them. But the secret is that effective change often has delayed results. The effort isn't wasted. It's being stored, building up, until it reaches a critical threshold, and then, seemingly overnight, you see massive breakthroughs. Patience is key. This brings us to another powerful idea. Forget about goals. Focus on systems. This might sound counterintuitive, especially since we're constantly told to set specific, measurable goals. But Clear argues that while goals are good for setting a direction, systems are far better for making actual progress. What's the difference? Goals are your desired outcomes, like losing 20 pounds or writing a book. Systems are the processes that lead to those outcomes, like exercising 4 times a week or writing 500 words daily. The problem with being too goal-centric is multifaceted. First, successful people and unsuccessful people often have the same goals. Everyone wants to be happy, healthy, and successful. So goals themselves aren't the differentiator. Second, achieving a goal only provides momentary change. Once you cross the finish line, what then? Many marathon runners, for example, find themselves losing motivation and fitness after the race because their entire focus was on the goal, not on the system of being a runner. Third, goals create an either-or conflict. You either succeed or you fail. This can be demotivating. If you don't hit your goal, you feel like a failure. But if you focus on the system, every day you follow the process, you're succeeding, regardless of the immediate outcome. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are better for making progress. It's about building consistent habits that naturally lead to the results you want, rather than constantly chasing a specific endpoint. The real issue isn't that we lack the desire to change. It's often that we have an incorrect system for change. This is where the concept of atomic habits comes in. Atomic habits are those tiny routines and behaviors that, when accumulated, lead to incredible, incremental, positive results. Instead of looking for big, revolutionary breakthroughs, the focus shifts to small, daily decisions and actions. Think of it like atoms building molecules. Individually, they are tiny, almost invisible. But together, they form everything around us. Similarly, atomic habits are the fundamental building blocks that, when stacked together, can create remarkable, life-altering results over time. To truly understand how to make these changes, we need to look at behavior change in 3 layers. The first layer is about outcomes, which are the results you get. This is what most people focus on: losing weight, writing a book, getting a promotion. The second layer is about processes, which is what you do. This involves adopting new routines, like exercising for 30 minutes a day or reading before bed. But the deepest, most impactful layer is identity, which is about what you believe about yourself, your worldviews, and your self-perception. The core principle here is to focus on who you want to become, rather than just the desired results. Instead of saying, "I want to learn to play the guitar," think, "I want to become a musician." Instead of, "I want to run a marathon," think, "I want to become a runner." When a desired trait or behavior becomes part of your identity, your actions naturally align with it. If you identify as an athlete, you'll find yourself exercising. If you see yourself as a programmer, you'll naturally gravitate towards coding. This self-identification reinforces itself, making the behaviors almost automatic and much easier to sustain. Habits themselves become automatic through repetition, acting as efficient solutions to recurring problems with minimal mental effort. This process works through what's called the habit loop, a continuous feedback cycle of cue, craving, response, and reward. The key to establishing lasting habits lies in understanding and continuously improving these feedback loops. Let's take an example. Your phone vibrates. You feel a sudden urge to know who messaged you. You pick up your phone and check it. The problem of "who messaged me" is solved, and you get a small hit of satisfaction. Over time, this reward becomes strongly associated with the cue, making the habit stronger. Another common example. You're at work, your mind goes blank, and you feel stuck. You crave relief from this frustration. You open social media. You feel less frustrated for a moment. This loop reinforces itself. One habit can even cue another, like checking Facebook leading to checking Instagram, then YouTube. The cumulative effect of these repeated loops makes habits automatic and deeply ingrained. Cues can be almost anything: a smell, a sound, an image, a person, a place. It's important to reflect and identify the cues for both your good and bad habits in your daily life. The ultimate goal is to learn how to influence this habit loop to work in your favor. This understanding of the habit loop leads us to the 4 laws of behavior change, which are practical guidelines for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. The first law is, make it obvious. Most of our current habits operate unconsciously. The very first step to changing them is to become aware of what they actually are. Clear suggests creating a habit scorecard. You list every single behavior you perform from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep. Then, you categorize each one as positive, negative, or neutral based on whether it supports or hinders the identity you want to build. The purpose here isn't to judge yourself or immediately change anything, but simply to observe. As Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Beyond awareness, clarity is crucial. Often, it's not a lack of motivation that hinders habit formation, but a lack of precision. Vague goals like, "I want to get fit someday," rarely gain momentum. The solution is to specify the time and location for your habit. This is called an implementation intention. The formula is simple. I will behavior at time in location. So instead of saying, "I'll read more this month," you'd say, "I will read a book for 15 minutes every day at 6 a.m. in the guest room." This removes ambiguity and makes the habit much more likely to happen. Building on that idea of implementation intentions, we can use a powerful technique called habit stacking. This method involves linking a desired new habit to an existing habit you already perform consistently. The formula here is straightforward. After current habit, I will, new habit. For instance, if your existing habit is making your morning coffee, you could stack a new habit like, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. This uses the established routine as a trigger for the new behavior, making it much easier to integrate into your day without relying purely on willpower. It leverages the automatic nature of current habits to kickstart new ones. This brings us to the second law of behavior change. Make it attractive. Our habits are deeply tied to dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. Interestingly, dopamine spikes not just when we experience pleasure, but even more so when we anticipate it. This anticipation drives us to act. To make a habit more attractive, you can use something called temptation bundling. This means pairing an action you need to do with an action you want to do. For example, if you love watching a specific TV show, you could make a rule for yourself. I will only watch my favorite show while I'm exercising on the stationary bike. Suddenly, the exercise becomes the gateway to an activity you genuinely enjoy, making it much more appealing. Social influence also plays a huge role here. We are inherently social creatures, and we tend to adopt the habits of those around us. If you want to become more active, join a running club. If you want to read more, find a book club. Surround yourself with people for whom your desired behavior is the normal, accepted thing to do. This makes the habit attractive because it aligns with your social environment. The third law is to make it easy. The less friction there is to starting and completing a habit, the more likely you are to do it. This often involves optimizing your environment. If you want to eat healthier, put healthy snacks in plain sight in your kitchen and hide the unhealthy ones in a hard-to-reach cupboard. If you want to practice guitar more, leave it out on a stand in your living room instead of tucked away in a case in the closet. This environmental design makes the good habit obvious and easy, while making the bad habit less so. A brilliant practical application of this law is the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, It should take less than 2 minutes to do. This isn't about doing the entire task, but mastering the art of showing up. If you want to run, just put on your running shoes. If you want to read, just read 1 page. The goal is to make the entry point so easy that you can't say no. Once you start, you're often more likely to continue. Finally, automation can make habits almost effortless. Setting up automatic savings deductions, using subscription services for healthy food deliveries, or programming your coffee maker to brew at a specific time are all ways to take willpower out of the equation. The fourth and final law is to make it satisfying. We are wired to repeat behaviors that bring us pleasure and satisfaction. The challenge is that many good habits, like exercising or saving money, have delayed rewards, while bad habits often offer immediate gratification. To counteract this, we need to find ways to make good habits immediately satisfying. Visual tracking is incredibly effective. Using a habit tracker, whether it's a calendar where you mark off each day you complete a habit or an app, creates a visible record of your progress. Seeing that chain of completed days can be a powerful motivator. You don't want to break the chain. You can also create a reward system for yourself, ensuring the rewards don't conflict with the habit itself. For example, after a week of consistent exercise, you might treat yourself to a new book or a relaxing bath. Another powerful tool is an accountability partner or even an accountability contract. Publicly stating your intentions and having a friend check in on your progress, or even having a financial penalty for not following through, can create an immediate satisfying consequence that reinforces the desired behavior. So, to recap these powerful ideas, strive for 1% improvements daily, focus on building effective systems rather than just setting goals, cultivate an identity that aligns with the person you want to become, and then apply the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. I've personally applied these principles in my own life to finally stick with a consistent morning routine, improve my reading habits, and even manage my finances better. It's not about grand sweeping changes overnight, but about understanding the subtle forces that shape our habits and then deliberately designing our environment and actions to work in our favor. I highly encourage you to pick up Atomic Habits yourself. It's a game changer, and its practical advice can truly help you build the life you want, one small atomic habit at a time.